When I first got into hip-hop, I was quite enamored of it as an art form. And I went into the South Bronx and I watched all of the early break dancers, the rappers, the graffiti artists. And I really felt quite passionate about what they were trying to say and what they were, in fact, saying. So much so that with Melly Mel and Dougie Fresh and all those who were the beginning, I decided to do a film called Beat Street. And in that film, we gathered together many in the hip-hop community to make a film that I thought would explain to America what the root of this culture was about. Because I had known that the success they were experiencing would soon be gobbled up by the moneymakers. They'd start hanging chains around their necks, a lot of gold, and begin to give them another drift. And I'm glad I got in at those early years. And I watched the music change. I watched it go from social enlightenment, from political resolve, from saying something that would inspire young people, to give up violence, to become a culture that soon became self-possessed. And they began to move towards the more antisocial themes of the day. They began to speak about women in derogatory terms, particularly women of color. And I began to feel how sad it was that we were losing that culture and that music to a time that was not as honorable as we would have liked it to have been. And it wasn't until Chuck D, until Public Enemy stepped onto the scene and retrieved that culture, retrieved that spirit, and began to put truth to power, began to speak passionately and fervently about the conditions of the universe, and began to let everybody become transparent and answerable for what was going on socially. I've been in love with Public Enemy for a long, long time, almost from the beginning. And when it came time for them to have the honor of being taken into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they asked that I become part of the group and the people who would induct them. And I thought it was a badge of honor. It's kind of watching the generations come. And these are all young kids for me. I'm 86 years old, and all those guys are in their 40s and 50s and a little bit younger. But it's their spirit. And when they said, "Would you come do it?" I said, yes. I've always been a change agent. That's my platform. I'm not an artist who became an activist. I'm an activist who became an artist. And I've always felt that art, as my mentor once said to me, artists are the gatekeepers of truth. And we are really civilization's radical voice. If there is no art, there is no truth. And I look at the art forms and all of the music that I've touched during my life, all of world music, Miriam Makeba, Africa, the Caribbean, all of it has been a joyride for me. And all of those forms of music that I engaged in had one theme: what's deep in the human heart, and how can we inspire and make a difference? I think a lot of people get caught up in what's the bottom line. The bottom line is the destruction of our humanity. The top line is to be inspired and to say and do things that retrieve us from this selfish path that we're on. There's just too much greed in the world. And I think to a great degree, rappers can make that sound heard, can begin to say and do things that take us back to that. I'm not suggesting that there aren't other forms and other artists. You know, I think Dave Matthews and Bruce Springsteen, whom I adore, there are a lot of guys out there making the proper noise, Sting and others. But I think it's time for us to all come together. And what I like about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is that it's reached into the rap world. And the rap world has responded to rock and roll. Now, if we can get the two of them to hook up, I think we can change the universe. That's my mission.